And we are live. Welcome to Olivia's Stories, ladies and gentlemen.
I had never thought that one day I would find myself being one of my alpha husband's brutal revenge. You know, when you are too carefree, you end up doing things that would ruin your life and the second party's life. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just having fun, but I guess the fun had me instead. A very small mistake took me back to the hellhole I thought I had left. I regret the day I made that mistake. I thought my husband was not going to find out. We were playing a game, you know. Just having fun with a couple of friends at a party, not knowing that what I had thought was a game was actually cheating. The worst part was the fact that I had to realize it the hard way. I was fooled by my friends and did things that I had thought were harmless and fun, only for it to ruin my life. I know someone who once had the same experience or had gone through the same situation that I was facing. How did you pick up the broken pieces and fix things regarding this situation? Let me tell you what happened. So I, F28, met this fine, handsome, and sexy man when I was visiting my aunt in Brooklyn for summer holidays. The first time I saw him, I developed a huge crush on him. Well, that time he had just turned 20 and I was 18. I had just started college in Baruch College in New York City. My aunt had always asked me to move in with her since she was staying alone. Her husband was working overseas. After I saw Chris, M30, I then reconsidered my aunt's offer. So I moved in with my aunt after I found out that Chris and his family were my aunt's neighbors. So I made it my mission to at least be friends with him since I didn't have any. One boring day, I'd been scared to ask for friendship with Chris, so I continued staying in the house. On that boring and sunny day, I decided to go and stay outside because the house was too boring for me and I needed some air. So as I was still outside, Chris arrived, was going with his family. My heart started beating so fast that I even thought it would stop. I then stared at him, or better say drooled on him for a long time. This man was fine. His body structure was to die for, not to mention his voice and smile. God, I wanted to die. Anyway, I think he saw that I was looking at him. Then he approached me after he had offloaded the things they had come with. Since that boring day, we became friends. He has been attending New York City College of Technology. He was a computer geek, which explained why he went to the College of Technology. Our friendship got stronger each day, as much as I had a huge crush on him, but I had closed my crush feeling to a small cage. At least we were friends and we were spending more time together. I was not used to Brooklyn, so he would take me to different places to visit different ice cream shops. There was this weekend when he came to my aunt's house and asked me to accompany him somewhere. I didn't ask much, so I went with him, only to find out that we were going to Central Park, which was 35 minutes drive away from Brooklyn. We were actually going to have a picnic there, and it was really fun. That was the day we had our first kiss, and he tasted so sweet and soft. From that day, he told me that he had developed feelings for me, so he proposed to me to be his girlfriend. He didn't have to ask twice. I unlocked my crush feelings and agreed to be his girlfriend. Our relationship was officialized after 6 months of keeping it a secret. It was the best year of my life. The more time we spent together, the more I got a chance to know him on a much deeper level. He was a sweet, loving, and loyal guy, but he was strict. He didn't take any shit from anyone, which made him an alpha boyfriend. We dated for 2 years, and it was a great ride. So his 22nd birthday was coming. I had invited all his friends since I was hosting a surprise birthday party for him. You can call it young love because we were very much in love with each other. So during the party, one of his friends had asked everyone to participate in a game called Spin the Bottle. My man told him that we were not going to join the game. I didn't understand why, because the game looked fun except for the fact that if the bottle points in your direction and another person's direction, you had to kiss them or drink the undiluted vodka. But it looked really fun, so I wanted to try it. The following year, he proposed to me, and obviously I said yes. I saw the love of my life in him. Even though he was a bit insecure. Maybe not a bit, but I loved him so much. I didn't see myself with anyone else other than him. He was my ride or die, my joy and happiness. I fell hard for him every day, not knowing that my small, stupid mistakes would cost me everything, including my love. Was it being naive or being forward? We got married after 6 months. We didn't want to rush things, so we took our own sweet time to plan for our perfect wedding. I had moved out of my aunt's house after he proposed. We were living happily ever after. You know when you feel that she is the one, and you don't want anything to get in between you, which was how I felt. He was everything and more, not knowing that he would become my downfall someday. A year later, I fell pregnant. Our lives were great. I was so happy that I was going to be a mom. Not just being a mom, but the fact that I was going to have a child with the person I loved so much. 9 months later, I gave birth to a very adorable baby girl. She looked so much like my husband, and I loved her so much. She was and still is the best gift God had given me. Chris was so obsessed with his baby to a point that I was somehow jealous because the baby loved her daddy more than me. He would ask me to go out and rewind with friends since I was always in the house taking care of the baby. Chris didn't want me to work, but I talked him out of that thought and told him that at least I would do remote jobs. In that case, I would be able to be a stay-home mom while receiving an income. So one day I had received an invitation from one of my former college friends for a reunion party. I asked for permission to go from my husband, of course. He didn't have any problem. So one sunny Saturday, I attended the party, and it was a blast. It was fun. It was just a small and intimate party with just a few college friends. I really enjoyed myself, so one of the guys came up with the plan to play truth or dare. I thought it was just a game and we were all having fun, not knowing that I had committed adultery. I didn't know that kissing was considered cheating. Worst part, in that reunion party, everyone was happy and having fun. Videos and pictures of every moment were taken. Little did I know that those videos and pictures would ruin everything for me. A year later, I had asked my aunt to come over to my marital home with her husband, because I had planned a surprise retirement and welcome back party for him, since he was no longer going to be working overseas but coming back home. I wanted to appreciate him while he was still alive. That man had done so much for me. He was the best uncle-father I had ever had. Both Uncle John and my aunt deserved to get their roses while still alive. During that year, Chris had started acting really strange. He was no longer spending time with me, but he would take our daughter only, and saying it was a daughter and daddy bonding session. That was actually a very lame excuse because even at home, things were no longer fun. It was like we were forcing things, even though our conversations were no longer fun and full of happiness. I had thought he was cheating because one day I had confronted him about his sudden behavior, and he looked at me like I had grown horns or I was crazy. So I decided to check his gadgets. Maybe he was using them to cheat, but I found nothing. I knew and felt that he was hiding something from me, but I couldn't get myself to think that whatever he was hiding was actually about me. One summer evening, I was preparing for my uncle's retirement welcome home party. I had told Chris that I would be hosting a party for my uncle, so I needed him to be there to help me. That day, he had promised me that he would be home early, but he didn't keep his promise. I mean, why was I surprised? Because he had been absent for a few days. He would go to work very early in the morning and come back late when our daughter would have even gone to sleep. When I asked him about it, he would say he was caught up at work. I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that told me that something was off. I kept wondering why Chris was so distant and absent lately. Yes, I found out that he was not cheating, but there was something that had made him too busy for his wife because even our intimate moments were no longer the same. It was like he was doing it to satisfy himself more than the both of us. I wanted to find out what his problem was, but I just didn't know where to start. I had thought I knew Chris, but his behavior showed me that I didn't know him at all. So as the guests were arriving for my uncle's party, my uncle and his wife came, but I noticed that my uncle was a bit off as he tried pretending to be happy. I asked him on the side to speak with him, so I asked him what was going on. I had thought he was sick or something, but that was not the case. He had recently opened his coffee shop with the money he had gotten when it was his last day overseas. He told me that his business was crumbling down. I didn't understand how it was crumbling down because it was always busy. Then he told me that someone had hacked the business's account, and that person was busy stealing the money. My heart ached for my uncle, so I told myself that I would find the person who plays in my uncle's business account. It didn't even come to my mind that my husband would be responsible. Was I ignorant? I told my uncle that I would take the money I had inherited from my late mother and support him so he could recover the money he lost. It was going to be little, but it was going to make a difference. I couldn't let my uncle's business go down the drain like that. I had to do something, and I mean he had been with me, playing a father role in my role. It was the least I would have done to help him. Chris came back looking pale and his eyes held a sinister glint. The suspicions that I had and tried to investigate about were proved. My husband had lipstick on his shirt collar. He was reeking of alcohol. It was not the Chris I knew. I was shuddered, you know. My world was shuddered at the fact that the feeling I had been trying to ignore had come to reality to hit me like a ton of bricks. Chris had been cheating on me, and my suspicions got proved. The bitterness of betrayal consumed me. I wanted to find out why he would do something so evil to me. I had thought we were happy, but I guess thoughts were not always right. Little did I know that the revenge I was seeking would backfire very badly. So I embarked on a relentless pursuit of the truth, unearthing a web of lies, infidelity, and corruption. With each revelation, my anger grew. I then discovered that Chris had not only been cheating on me, but had also orchestrated a plan to take advantage of my uncle's struggling business. I just couldn't believe it. It was really hard for me to believe that my loving husband would do something so evil to me and my uncle. My heart shattered, so I vowed to bring down both my cheating husband and the conniving individuals who had taken advantage of my family. Armed with my wit, resilience, and a newfound strength, I had set out a plan to expose the truth and divorce his ungrateful self. Did he do all that to make me suffer just because the only thing I did was to love him, or he married me or dated me just because he knew and saw that I had a crush on him? A lot of questions were running through my mind, and I couldn't find any answers for them. I even decided to be a stay-home mom just because I was respecting him since he wanted me to be a housewife. But we had spoken about that and came to an agreement that I would do only remote jobs, and he decided to do such an evil act on me. What did I do wrong to him? The way I was shuddered and disappointed led to not being a fully present mother to our daughter. He was still living in our marital home, and he never forgot to spend his time with his daughter, which was what I appreciated because I was not in my right state of mind to take care of the baby. He didn't know that I knew his plans and his infidelity, and I had to act accordingly, so I would confront him when I had got tangible evidence. A month later, we had been living like roommates in our house. Even our daughter had caught the thick tension that was in our home. My conscience kept telling me that my husband would never cheat on me. He loved me and our family so much for him to just destroy it like that if there was nothing going on. I suspected that maybe he was going through something. But would a person who was going through something cheat on you and plan to destroy your uncle's business? Everything was really confusing. So I decided to seek revenge on my uncle's behalf and try to bring back his business and the money he had lost. I should have known that Chris would use his immature computer geeks, he calls friends, to do his dirty business. What did I think exactly when it didn't come to me that the only person who would be able to pull that stunt? Another thing that had confused me was, why would my husband want to destroy my uncle? Did they have any beef that I didn't know about? My relentless pursuit of justice culminated in a confrontation that would change everything. Facing my husband, Chris, and the people responsible for my family's downfall. So I invited his friends for lunch at our home, of course, since Chris was also not working. It was a great time to unleash a storm of truth and retribution that left them all stunned. I knew they would not have expected me to know everything about their dark operation that was busy pulling my uncle's business account money. Chris was livid after I had dropped a bombshell on him and his friends and threatened to expose their operation if they didn't return my uncle's money that they had been taking. Later that evening, he came to our room and told me that we had to talk. I didn't allow him to, so I just looked at him with a go-ahead look. I didn't want to waste my voice talking to him, so he had to do the talking. I know I was not perfect also. I had not been faithful to my marriage. Not that I was cheating. I mean, sleeping with another man outside your marriage is considered cheating, right? Well, I didn't cheat. At least I thought I didn't, but I had a guy friend from college. Chris knew about our friendship even though he was not approving of it, but I had assured him that we were just friends. Nothing more. So me and this guy would be free with each other to a point that we somehow kissed, but that was it. Nothing else happened. Just kissing. So as he was talking and apologizing about what he had done to my uncle and promised to return every cent he had taken from his account, my heart was at ease. That night we had talked things through and ended up enjoying our intimacy. I had missed him a lot. I had missed our family's happy moments. I thought that we were past what had happened, even though I also had my own secrets, but they were not dark like his. Few months passed and our relationship was going stronger again. We were happy. Well, I thought we were not, knowing that the bastard had planned to destroy me. He once asked me if I had considered kissing another person outside our marriage. Cheating. My opinion was that I didn't consider kissing as cheating because it didn't go with feelings. Just a little fun here and there, but being intimate with another person outside our marriage would be considered cheating. Was I wrong? The answer he gave me was, which confused me because I had thought we were just having a conversation between married people. One cold summer weekend, I received a call from an unknown number. I was just chilling with my husband and our baby girl. The call left me devastated and lost. I didn't know what to do. I was told that my uncle and aunt were involved in a tragic car accident and none of them made it out alive. My world came crumbling down. I had lost the only people I had called family. They took me in and made me their child, since they had struggled to have children. So after the passing of my mother, they took it upon themselves to take charge of my well-being. I was really sad, so I went to the police department to ask further regarding their accident because I knew that my uncle was a very vigilant driver, so he would never be careless on the road, and that wouldn't have caused the accident. I was told that his car tires were tempered with. He didn't notice them, and it led to a car losing control, and there was a truck that came on the side coming in full speed and collided with my uncle's car on my aunt's side. They showed me pictures and the car was beyond recognition. Even a pro driver would not have survived that accident. It was too tragic and heartbreaking. Weeks later, after we had buried my aunt and uncle, their lawyer told me that they had left everything under me and my daughter's name since they never had any children or extended family members. I couldn't believe that they would actually do something so generous to me. I grieved for my uncle and aunt the wrong way. I had pushed away my husband, neglected my duties as a mother and a wife. I found solace in alcohol. I felt alone, I felt like an orphan, so I drank. Alcohol made me escape the real world for a couple of hours, so I would ask my male friend to accompany me to whatever place that had fun. I would be having so much fun to a point that I even lost control. My male friend would kiss me here and there during our drinking spree, and I would accept his kisses. I wanted to numb the pain that I was feeling in my heart. My husband was so patient with me, he even tried to get me help, but I didn't accept it. I didn't want any shrink to ask me to open up about my problems. I wanted my aunt and uncle. My husband was there and patient throughout my grieving process. A couple of months passed. I decided that I had to pick myself up and remember that I had a family that needed me. I almost lost myself because of grief. I had lost connection with my daughter. My husband was on the verge of giving up on me if I had continued with the way I was behaving. It is said that even a patient's heart loses its patience when there is no progress in what it holds. Little did I know that during the whole grief moment or term, my husband was actually aware of everything I was doing. I know that he was doing it to ensure my safety and well-being, but he should have talked me through everything or taken me to the rehabilitation center by force. I was not myself, and he used that to his own satisfaction and cruelty. So after I had completely healed, I sold my aunt's house. I had found an anonymous buyer who was willing to deposit the full amount of the house. I was happy because it was not really easy to sell a house in Brooklyn. I transferred the house money to my daughter's accounts for future purposes. Chris came with the idea that we should buy a new house. Well, a bigger one than the one we had. So I agreed and moved to another place outside New York. A couple of months later, I found out that I was pregnant, which was the happiest moment of my life because it meant that my family was growing. My husband and daughter were with me. On the other hand, I was expecting another bundle of joy, an additional member of my small family. During that pregnancy, Chris went back to his strange behavior. It was like he was not happy about my pregnancy and the fact that we were expecting an additional member into our small circle, which was what we had always wanted. I was sure that the baby I was carrying was his child, because I had never slept with my male friend. One fateful night, he came back home looking angry. I asked what the matter was, and he just told me that it was work-related, so I didn't ask anything further because I didn't want to stress my baby, and if it was something work-related, he would find a way to sort it out. Little did I know that the work-related matter was actually me. That night, he didn't even spend his night with me. He slept in our daughter's bedroom, which raised an eyebrow. Why would he sleep in our daughter's room if whatever had made him angry was work-related because he had never done that before? The behavior kept getting worse, and that time he would sometimes come back home intoxicated and start speaking a lot of things that didn't make sense. He would start picking fights with me, saying that he would destroy my life because after all the time we had been married, I made him a fool. His accusations really confused me because I never thought my own husband would accuse me of such things. To me, it came as like he didn't trust me or he believed that I had cheated, but I never did. Or did I? A few days later, he came back home and asked to speak to me. My heart jumped out of joy thinking that he had come back to his senses, and he was willing to play his husband and a father role to our children. As we were speaking, he took out an envelope and asked me to open it. I opened it without any fear or suspicion. I thought it was something else. I didn't know why I had thought that it was something else that I didn't know of. I took out the papers that were in an envelope. He told me that he was thinking that we should expand my uncle's business since we had left Brooklyn, so it was time we open another one around where we were staying, and there was someone who was willing to join the business chain. I was happy that Chris was willing to do better by my uncle's business and expand it, so I agreed, and he asked me to sign the papers for partnership. Stupid me, I signed the papers without reading them just because I trusted my husband and he thought he would never do wrong by me. I was his wife and the mother of his children, for goodness sake. 2 weeks later, it was time that we had to open another coffee shop near where we were staying. But my husband had gone AWOL. I didn't understand his sudden disappearance because we had agreed on the date to launch the coffee shop. He had left for a week with our daughter, saying that they were going to his parents' house in Brooklyn, and he was going to go for a day and come back, but I guess a day became a week. I tried calling him, but his phone was not going through. I had tried everything to reach him, but I couldn't. I got really worried, and the fear of losing them creeped on me. I started panicking because even his parents confirmed that our daughter was with them, but Chris was not. I didn't want to lose Chris, and I was not ready to. The thought of him leaving me like my aunt and uncle came, and it was not a really pleasing feeling because I was stressed, which affected my unborn child. A month later, I received a call from our lawyer asking me to meet up with her. I agreed, thinking that maybe he had news regarding my husband, only to find out that he was going to serve me with divorce papers. I was shocked because I didn't understand the meaning of everything. I was going through stress that my husband had not been home for the whole month, and suddenly I was served with divorce papers. I didn't want to lose my husband for something I didn't know about. I thought he had gone back to his cheating ways, and I was not willing to lose him to another woman. I was willing to fight for my husband and our family. So I decided to find another lawyer who would represent me during the divorce process. But bad things kept happening to me. My cards got blocked. Even my daughter's account got blocked. I couldn't receive or transfer payments. I didn't know what was going on, so I went to the bank to try and fix my account's issues, which failed dismally. I couldn't even pay for the lawyer I had found, meaning he would not be able to represent me. I was furious. I missed my aunt so much, because she would have known what to do or say to me to make me feel better. I was pressured to the point that I got abdominal pains one night, mind you. I was alone in the house, so I called 911 for assistance. Unfortunately, when I got to the hospital, I had already lost the baby. My heart was broken. I even wished death upon myself. I had thought my baby was a fighter, but I guess that time he or she couldn't fight any longer. I needed my husband, the same husband who had filed for a divorce for me. My mind was all over the place. My life was becoming a mess each and every day. I spent the whole week in hospital. My mind and heart was shuttered. A day before I got discharged from the hospital, my husband's lawyer came to see him. He left another envelope that I didn't even bother opening, but I took it home with me the next day. So when I had settled well at home, I remembered the envelope and opened it. The things the envelope contained left me in awe. My heart stopped for a moment. In the envelope, there were pictures of me and my male friend kissing each other. It looked like we were dating. I couldn't believe how my husband had got the pictures. I didn't understand why he would send his lawyer to deliver the pictures to me, and I saw nothing wrong in what I did. In my world or mind, kissing was not and should not be considered as cheating. No feelings were attached. It was fun, nothing else. So after the pictures were delivered, the lawyer called me again, saying the divorce process had to come to a final decision, and requested to see me along with my husband on a certain date. I honored his request and went to meet up with him and my husband. The only thing that made me agree to the meeting was because I had a lot of questions to ask my husband. One fateful day, The day of the meeting came, and my husband was really divorcing me. And his reasons for the divorce were that he had lost trust in me, and I had not been faithful to our marriage. The fact that I had found solace in another man's arms and left him in our house to take care of our daughter. I thought he understood that I was going through grief, and I was not myself. I tried defending myself in the pictures case, and the lawyer told me exchanging saliva or kissing another person outside my marriage is considered cheating, even if I had thought it was an innocent friendship kiss. But the fact that I had spent time and kissed another person in the name of friendship is cheating. I didn't know that and never thought of it as cheating because me and the guy were only friends. I didn't take him as another thing and never thought of him that way. I loved my husband so much, but I guess the only thing I never did was respect my wedding vows and my husband. I didn't know, okay, one moment I was happy, the next I was grieving and found comfort in alcohol. That alcohol led me to do something that I had thought I was doing just for fun. I guess nothing stays in the dark. I felt so ashamed. Doing things in the name of fun sometimes leads us to our downfall. So I ended up signing the papers, meaning I was actually letting go of my husband, our love, our vows, and our family. I asked the lawyer what I was benefiting from the divorce, and he told me that I would be getting nothing rather than the house I was living in. So I asked my husband to unfreeze my accounts, and he told me that my accounts were fine. It was just that they didn't have any money. I knew he was crazy, but I had never thought it was to that extent. How could he do something so evil to the mother of his child? As I had thought that was all. He then dropped a very large and a killer bombshell to me, saying that he was taking full custody of our daughter and that I was not fit enough to be a mother, so he was taking full responsibility to our daughter. To my luck, I had my aunt and uncle's offshore accounts cards with me. They had a little money in them. It was enough to push me until I would be able to find my feet, so I took that money and hired a private investigator to run an investigation on my ex-husband. When he came back with the results, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that my husband was responsible for my downfall. It showed that he was the one who owned my family home, the one my aunt and uncle lived in. He also tricked me to sign the papers that he said were partnership papers, but I was actually signing all my rights to him, meaning he was the full owner of my uncle's businesses. Those were replaceable things because during the investigation finding, it also stated that my husband was responsible for my aunt and uncle's accident. I felt my knees getting weak each and every moment when I read the findings. I had never thought he was that evil. I had lost the only people who were my family, as if that was not enough. He took my daughter away from me. I should have left him the first time I found out that he was responsible for my uncle's business to lose money. My ex-husband was evil and psychopathic. The signs were there, but I didn't pay any attention to them. I was so much in love and thought I had found my soulmate, but I found my worst nightmare and downfall. I couldn't believe that he did all that just because of a lousy kiss. It wasn't like I was dating the guy, but he destroyed my life. All in the name of revenge for a kiss. A few months later, I had to try and fix my life bit by bit. Chris did a number on me, so it wasn't easy having to start afresh everything. Fortunately, I found a job as a waitress in one of the restaurants nearby. It was not easy, but I had to try and pick up life and better myself. I had no one but myself, so it was time to focus on me and do me. And the good thing was that Chris's parents had allowed me to see my daughter and spend time with her. I prayed every day for karma to visit Chris one day. Fortunately, it did. All his operations came out and he was arrested. I vowed to myself to never fall in love again or have a crush on someone. I have learned my lesson. Do you think I handled the whole situation better, or I was a coward and naive to allow Chris to destroy my life like that? Please advise me. Hello, people of Reddit. Today I'll share with you how my boyfriend just kicked me out of his place for some other girl. All of this happened when I asked him to open our relationship. My story is kind of messy, but it's the same for all the people in their 20s. I'm putting it out here so you all know that you are not alone. Everyone is having a messy life. I, female, 22, was in a relationship with my boyfriend, 22 years. Let's call him Ray. We were dating for more than a year. We both graduated from college this year. I met my boyfriend in the first year. We both were freshers and had the same courses. We met at the freshers party and instantly became friends. We made other friends as well, but we were really close. We used to hang out a lot, just the two of us. We used to go to our classes together and would hang out together for long hours after classes, then go back to the dorm. We both were single at that time. One day I told Ray that I want to have fun in university. That day we helped each other make profiles in dating apps like Bumble and Hinge. Everyone in the university was using these for casual hookups, and we thought we'll give it a shot too. After that, we both started casually hooking up with our match on these apps. It was going well. We both were good friends, so we used to share with each other how things were going with our dates. I was happy because I didn't want to get in a relationship or anything serious at that point of time. Few days passed like this. My roommate had recently started dating and would tell me things about her boyfriend. They were adorable together. It started to make me feel jealous because even though I had lots of options on the dating apps, I didn't have someone in my life to do all the boyfriendy stuff with. I used to just meet my dates at the university. We would hook up after a bit of small conversation, and then we would go our way. After a while, it started feeling lonely too. The hookups were getting boring. I wanted the relationship stuff as well. I saw my friends spending the nights with their boyfriends and doing all the couple things together. It made me want all that too. One day, Ray and I went to a bar near our college and got really, really drunk. I don't remember much, but I remember that we kissed and I spent the night with him. I didn't want things to be awkward, so I started avoiding him after that day. I avoided him for a week, but then he finally met me after class and asked me what was going on. I told him that I didn't want things to get awkward between us. He then told me that ignoring him was stupid. We went for a coffee in the campus cafe where we talked about a relationship. He said he felt the hookups were getting boring too. By the end of our discussion, he confessed that he really liked that night, and if I felt the same way, then we should give things between us a shot. I had enjoyed that night between us as well, but I didn't want to risk our friendships. I didn't have many friends in college anyways. I told him to give me some time to think about it. I kept thinking about what Ray had said to me. I realized that our friendship was never going to be the same after that night. And I really enjoyed that night. Considering everything, it was fair to give things between us a fair chance. I called him up a few days later and told him that I was ready to try out something between us. He was happy with that. We weren't ready for a serious committed relationship at that point, so we decided that we'll be just friends with benefits. And we used to still see other people occasionally, but then would tell each other about it. We were honest to each other about everything from the beginning. It was good to have some physical and emotional connection with the same person. I got to experience something apart from the sexual thing. I could talk to him normally. We would tell each other how our day went. It was really comforting. It also helped that we have been friends from the start of college. Everything was going really well. Our friends with benefits thing was going really well. Sometimes he would do really sweet things for me, like getting me flowers or stuff like that. We used to spend a lot of time together, and I started liking him. One day we were having dinner. He then told me that he really liked to hang out with me and liked me. It made me happy because I felt the same way about him. He said that we should get exclusive. I immediately agreed, as by that time I had developed a huge crush on him. And that's how we started dating each other. I was happy to finally get that emotional and physical connection with the same guy. He seemed happy too. I finally got the hype of all the couple things people used to talk about. One day we went on a painting date as our first date. Everything was going well between us. I was happy and content with him. I never had a proper relationship before him. Experiencing everything that came with the relationship was a fun experience. However, even though I had thought that I was finally ready for the relationship and moved on from the hookup stuff, I realized that I wasn't really ready for it. Whenever my boyfriend would be busy, I felt like texting guys on the app to go out with them. Being with the same guy was good in the beginning, but it was starting to get boring too. I started missing the thrill of seeing a new guy, having new conversations. I shared this with one of my friends. She told me that it was normal to feel this. She told me that I've been so used to the hookup culture that anything after that was supposed to feel boring. She told me that good relationships feel boring sometimes, but they also give stability. Although I knew that she was saying the right thing, I was still confused about whether I should talk to my boyfriend about it or not. He was my friend first and then boyfriend. I thought that maybe he'll actually listen and we could figure something out. My boyfriend was going to visit his family for the weekend. Since my home was far away, I was staying on campus. I was really bored and didn't have anything to do. I opened Bumble and was just scrolling through for fun. I told myself that I wasn't going to act on it or go and hook up with anyone. Just as I was going to close the app, I got a notification. It was a text from a guy I had matched earlier but never met. I checked his profile and he was really cute. He asked me if I was free to meet him for a coffee in the evening. I thought about it and then decided to go for it. I had nothing to do anyways and thought that what's the worst could happen. I thought that I wasn't doing anything wrong. There was nothing wrong in going for a coffee with a guy. I was sure that we would just have coffee and I would come back. I thought that I will explain this to my boyfriend later. However, when I went for coffee, the guy I met was really cute. He flirted with me throughout our time together. I laughed so much in such a short span of time. I couldn't just come back after having the coffee. We were walking when I kissed him and he kissed me back. He then dropped me to my dorm. I thought that I will tell everything to my boyfriend when he comes back. I thought that as my friend, he'll understand my situation and will help me in figuring stuff out. We weren't in a very serious, committed type relationship, so there was no reason for him to feel bad or anything. I was wrong, though, because when my boyfriend came back, he told me how he had told his friends back home about me, how they were so excited for him and would love to meet me. I got the feeling that he was serious about this. He told me one more thing. He told me how one of his friends dumped his girlfriend after she kissed another guy. I listened intently as he told me that they were friends before and then started dating, and when she kissed another, he dumped her without wasting a second and stopped talking to her. Their story was so similar to what was happening with us that it was insane. I asked him what he felt about his friend's decision, and he said that he completely supported it and had told his friend that he was doing the right thing. This was the opposite of what I had thought. I had thought that we would have a civil conversation and would figure something out about our relationship. If he was this way about his friend's relationship, he would have surely removed me from his life if I told him about what had happened. I realized that it's better to not tell him what had happened when he was not here. I didn't want to lose him as a friend. I also didn't want to break up with him because I wasn't sure how he would take it. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to break up with him or not. Things were good between us. I thought breaking up just because I got bored isn't a good reason, and I should give things time. Things went like this for a while. I was giving myself time to see what I really wanted. I didn't want to make rash decisions and hurt him. After some time, I realized that I wanted him, but I didn't want to get locked down, and I wanted to keep exploring things on the side. I wasn't sure how my boyfriend would take this information, so I decided not to say anything to him. I thought maybe I was just confused about everything. If I went on a few dates with guys, maybe I will figure out what I actually wanted. Whenever my boyfriend used to go out of campus, I would open some dating apps, mainly Bumble or Hinge, and then would go with guys for a casual hookup. I was enjoying this and kept doing this for a while. One day, all of it went wrong. It was a Friday. My boyfriend and I got into a very big fight. He wanted me to go to his home with him to meet his family and friends. I thought it was too soon. I wanted to tell him that I wasn't so serious about him, but didn't say that. Instead, we got into a huge fight. I went to my dorm and started scrolling on Bumble. I matched with a guy and we were going to meet on that night itself. Ray messaged me later that he's going home alone and will see me later. I thought of sorting things out with him, but decided to wait till he comes back. That evening, I was waiting at the coffee shop for that guy to show up. I waited for a good 15 minutes, but no one came. I texted him if he was coming or not and that I'm waiting for him. Just as I hit send, my boyfriend entered the coffee shop. I was shocked to see him here. He was so angry that he came to my chair and started asking me why I was cheating on him in a harsh tone. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept looking at him. I told him that it wasn't what he was thinking. He raised his eyebrows like he knew I was lying. The guy I was supposed to meet that night entered the cafe. My boyfriend then told me that they were friends. His friend had told him about the girl he was meeting for hookup, and then he showed my boyfriend my picture on Bumble. I knew that I couldn't lie my way out of it now, so I didn't even try to lie to him anymore. I just listened to him as he told me he was so disappointed in me. He told me that he didn't think that I was a cheater. All the students around us started to stare at us. He then told me that he was ending things with me in front of the entire cafe. I was really upset and embarrassed. I just came back to my dorm from there. I cried a lot that night because I didn't mean to lose my friend in all this chaos. I thought that everything around me was getting too heavy and to take a break from everything. I decided that it would be best for me if I stopped dating for a while. I even decided to deactivate my account from Bumbly and Hinga. These apps were doing me no good. I missed Ray. He was not only my boyfriend, but my best friend as well. I used to drop him texts telling him how sorry I was for the way things ended between us. I had hoped that he would finally forgive me and everything would get back to normal. The distance between us hurted me a lot. Earlier, he would wait for me after class, but now he was totally avoiding me. I tried to talk to him, but he would ignore me. He started sitting with his other friends and I was left alone. But finally, one day, when we bumped into each other at a common friend's party, I already had way too many tequila shots by then. I was too drunk, and I guessed he was high too. I went and hugged him, and he hugged me back. I told him that I missed him. He looked at me and told me that he missed me too. Maybe it was just because we both were high. We kissed that night. I spent that night with him again. The next morning when I woke up, I realized that I was in his place. I panicked and didn't know what to do. The bed was already empty. I went downstairs to find him in the kitchen. He was making coffee for both of us. I did what my instincts told me to do. I went and hugged him. He got tense for a while, but then quickly recovered as well and hugged me back. We then had coffee in silence. I told him how sorry I was for everything that had happened and that I really missed him. He listened to me silently and then told me that he missed me too. He then asked me why I was cheating on him. He said he really wanted to know what made me do something like that. He said he needed to know the complete reason behind it to let it actually go.
Yep.
He deserved to know the truth, so I decided to tell him from the beginning. I told him that I was confused and wasn't ready to get locked in a relationship. I told him that I wasn't a committed person. But I really liked him, and that's why I didn't want to end things with him either. He listened to everything I said with a neutral face. I didn't know what was going on in his mind, and finally gathered to ask him what he was thinking. He told me that he was thinking about what to do with us. He then said that we can try to be friends. That was enough for me. I wanted him in my life. If he was just willing to be friends, that was fine with me. I couldn't expect him to just forget everything and then get back with me like nothing happened. We started being friends again. After a while, he asked me if I was still on those dating apps. I told him no. He asked me why. I told him I needed a break from everything after he ended things with me. We kept hanging out with each other, but it wasn't just that. We would also kiss each other, or make out sometimes. We didn't specifically discuss what was going on, but it was going well. After a few weeks, he told me that he had forgiven me for going behind my back. He then asked me if I wanted to give between us a shot again. We could. I told him that I did want that, and we started dating again. If you think this is messy, wait for what comes next. So we started dating again. I moved into his apartment. Everything was going well, but some days would be really difficult. I felt like I was getting trapped. I missed hanging out with other guys. But this time, I didn't do anything stupid because I didn't want to ruin my relationship with my boyfriend. I noticed after a few days that my boyfriend was getting a lot of texts when we were together. His phone used to go off continuously with notifications. I asked him who was texting him, and he said that it was no one important. I didn't pay much attention to it, but when it happened again and again, I told him to be honest with me. He then confessed to me that it was a girl. He told me that after he ended things between us, he started hooking up with a girl. It was casual from his side, but she started liking him. Then, when we got back together, he ended things with her. She was still persistent to continue things with him, and that's why he keeps texting him. This was new information for me. I asked him if he liked her. He didn't deny it. He just said that I really like you. He looked confused and said that maybe he's just infatuated with her. I took some time to process it. I wasn't really hurt or upset after what he told me. Instead, I came up with an idea. I told him that he doesn't have to choose between me or her. There's another way to figure this out. He looked at me with hope, and then I asked him if we should open our relationship. He didn't understand at first, but then I explained it to him. I told him that we still get to be together, and at the same time, we get the freedom to explore other things on the side as well. This way, we could have everything without choosing. He said he needed some time to think through it. I said sure. After a few days, he told me that although he is not very sure, it couldn't hurt to try this. I agreed with him. We also decided that if we like this isn't working for us, we'll end this open relationship thing and just be exclusive together. He met that girl again while I downloaded Bumble and Hinge again. I was so excited to experience this again. I had only seen these people doing open relationships in TV shows or in books. I went on Bumble dates again. They weren't meant for anything serious, just casual hookups and fun. It was going well. My relationship with my boyfriend was also not suffering this time. We were honest to each other about what happened in our days, but we decided that we should not tell each other what we were doing outside our relationship with each other. It would do no good to know all that stuff. I shared this with my friends, and while some were happy for me, some were downright critical. They told me that nothing will work like this, and what we were doing was crazy. I told them that we were just in our early 20s. This was our time to have fun. We have our whole life in front of us. This seemed to shut them up. My boyfriend told me, although he wasn't sure at the start, this was working quite well in our favor. I agreed with him. Since we opened our relationship, we started to have less fights. We came back to each other with happy faces. It was working out well for us. It might sound complicated and messy if you're listening to this term for the first time, but it was just a way for us to find out what we actually wanted. Me and my boyfriend discussed how it was stupid to come into a committed relationship at such an early age. Opening our relationship has helped us to explore other things, like physical intimacy and other things. I was really happy till I started noticing that my boyfriend started staying out for a really long time. He would come back home really late sometimes. He would come long after dinner had turned cold. I didn't ask him where he was because we both knew where he was. I just thought that he was having his fun, so I let him have it. But then it started getting too much. On a weekend, he told me that he was going out of town for the weekend. I couldn't help it and asked him who he was going with. He gave me a look like, "Don't be stupid." He was going with some girl. It didn't sit well with me, but I didn't dwell on it. I spent the weekend with a guy as well. When my boyfriend came back from the weekend, he was very happy, like he had won some lottery or some shit. I couldn't control myself and asked him what's going on. He seemed confused and told me that nothing was going on and everything was fine. I didn't believe him for a second. I knew something was up. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't share this with my friends either. They had already warned me that stuff like this wasn't going to work out. One day, while me and my boyfriend were having dinner, I asked him in a casual tone if he's someone special. He tensed up but then said he didn't know what I'm talking about. I asked him again and told him to tell me the truth, as we should be completely honest with each other. He hesitated for a bit but then told me that he was seeing this girl more often. He said it was casual only. But instead of going through hookups with different people, he met her often, and that was it. His explanation sufficed. He was being honest with me and told me everything that was going on. I thought I didn't need to worry anymore. We were on a good track only. We then had dinner together and went to sleep. Our exams were coming soon, so we both were busy studying for our exams. This was our final sem. We didn't know what we were going to do after college, nor did we get the time to discuss it. I used to study mostly in university itself, whereas my boyfriend used to study at home. We used to spend less time with each other now. I was seeing other guys from the campus, and I didn't know what he was up to. I thought he was seeing that girl he mentioned in the dinner only. I didn't think much about it then. One day my boyfriend texted me and told me that he had something important to share with me. I went home to find him sitting on the couch. I asked him what was going on. He asked me if I remembered the girl he had mentioned that day. I told him that I remember her. He nodded and then told me that he likes her now, and she feels the same way about him. I didn't understand where he was trying to get with all this. He said he just wanted me to know that. I said it's okay, and there was no rule that we could only like one person at a time. That seemed to relax him a bit. He told me that he was really happy that I was so understanding. Few days went like this. Everything was going normal. My boyfriend didn't spend much time with me, but that was fine with me because I didn't have much time either. I was so busy between exams and everything that I would get home really late, and then I would immediately go to sleep. It was only after quite a few days when I realized that my boyfriend wasn't coming at all. I asked him if everything was okay. He told me that everything was fine and not to worry. I was relieved then. I was seeing this new dude from college at that point. He knew that I was in an open relationship and was fine with it. I hung out in his place and didn't come back to my home for a weekend. When I finally got back to my home, I realized that all my stuff was gone. The apartment had none of my stuff in it. I was so shocked. I thought we had a robbery, but it sounded stupid even to me because it was like someone specifically picked out my stuff. I called up my boyfriend but couldn't get through. I waited for him to come back to the apartment. He finally came back home after 2-3 hours. I asked him what was wrong. Where did all my stuff go? He seemed really different that day. The way he walked in, his posture, everything was different. He finally said that he had to move all my stuff back to my dorm. I was shocked when he told me this. I asked him why he did that. He told me that his other girl was shifting here and I had to go back to the dorm. I didn't understand what he was saying. "You're kicking me out for someone else," I asked him straight away. He immediately got tense and said that I was taking things in the wrong way. He told me that her landlord was kicking her out because she didn't have the money and she had nowhere else to go. He told me that he had talked on campus, and since my dorm room was still empty, there was no problem with me moving back in the dorm. I told him that he could have at least discussed it with me before deciding everything on his own. He hugged me, and then said that he would have discussed it with me, but I didn't pick up my phone when he called in the morning, so he had no clue where I was. He already called his friend's truck to move stuff. Also, that girl had to vacate her apartment by today itself. I told him that he doesn't understand how embarrassing it was going to be for me by going back to the dorm like this. He then got angry and told me it wasn't going to be much more than it was for him after I cheated on him. That shut me up. I then thought there wasn't much point in fighting anyways because what's done is already done. I then went back to campus, to my dorm. It felt odd being there, but it was all right. In any case, I had to study for my exams and stuff, so it was better that I got to be on campus. My conversation with my boyfriends got less and less day by day. Whenever I would talk to him, he would talk to me for a bit, and then would tell me that something had come up so he had to go. After some time, he stopped texting me as well. When I used to text him, I would get responses so late that sometimes days would pass, but I still wouldn't get a response from him. It started to eat me up. I felt like he was hiding something from me. I decided to confront him about his behavior. He didn't come to campus anymore. Almost all our classes were over, and everyone was preparing for the final examination. One day I was with a guy. He asked me if I had broken up with my boyfriend. I looked at him with confusion. I had already told him that we were in an open relationship. He said that he was asking because he saw my boyfriend in a restaurant with a girl. I shrugged and told him that he saw other girls too. He said that they looked really cozy together and that's why he was asking. What he said felt off with me. I had enough of this drama. I was going to confront my boyfriend and tell him that we should stop this open relationship nonsense. Only if I knew that I was a bit too late in saying this to him. I went to his apartment to talk to him that evening. He opened the door with a smile on his face, but it immediately got erased as soon as he saw me. It was like he was expecting someone else. I went inside the apartment and was instantly shocked. It had been only a few days since I was coming back to this place, but the apartment was completely changed. It felt like someone had completely erased traces of me from here. I told my boyfriend that I needed to talk to him. He told me to sit on the couch while he went to get water for us. I was starting to feel like a guest, which used to be mine a few days back. He came and sat down on the couch against me. He always used to sit beside me and not against me. I found it odd, but I had bigger concerns to talk about. I asked him why he was avoiding me for the last few days. He said that he wasn't ignoring me. He was just occupied with work and didn't get the time to talk to me. I asked him how his girl was. He said she was good. I asked him if he still liked her, and he nodded yes. I then asked him if he liked her more than me. He was quiet for a bit, and that silence ate me up. I didn't wait any further for his response and told him that we should end this open relationship drama. He seemed confused by my statement. I said we've both done enough exploring throughout our college, and now it was time that we stopped it and just be with each other. He was listening to me but was not replying, so I continued telling how important he was to me, and we could be really together if we ended all that nonsense. I told him that we don't need to have everything if we had each other. He finally started speaking. He told me how he wished initially when we started this open relationship thing that I would come to him and tell him this exact thing that I spoke about now. He said that he would keep waiting for me to come and tell him that I really wanted him and no one else. I kept listening to him. This was the first time we were having this conversation. I asked him why he didn't tell me this before. He said he wanted me to feel that way on my own. He didn't want to ask me to end whatever I had going on with other guys. He wanted me to end that myself. I was shocked at his words, but then I told him that it was okay. Maybe I understood it late, but I understood it now and was ready to end everything with everyone else. I told him that it will be just us in our relationship, and no one else. He then told me that it was too late for that as he was already in love with someone else now. I was shocked at his statement. In our entire time together, we had never told each other that we loved each other, but he was saying this to me for someone else now. I told him that it's not possible. I was still his girlfriend. He said it doesn't matter anymore because I sent him to another girl's arms myself. He then started telling me how he realized the importance of a relationship by being with someone else. He said that she gave him all the things that I could never give him. Relationships aren't just physical intimacy. It's much more than that. He told me. He went on telling me how in a real relationship, people don't go to other people's beds. I told him that he cannot blame everything on me. He agreed for an open relationship as well. He said he did agree to it, but he had no other option. I had already cheated on him once, and there was no guarantee that I wouldn't have done it again. I told him that I wouldn't have cheated on him again. I only did the open relationship because he agreed to it. He laughed and then said I wasn't being honest to him. He said that I was so addicted to hookup culture that I couldn't live without it anymore. I was shocked at his words. He kept telling me how a girl like me couldn't be someone's girlfriend ever. I left his house after he ended things with me. He said that his girlfriend was about to get back home and he didn't want to ruin her mood by me being there. I left his house after getting hurt a lot. I had never seen him after that day, nor did I wish to see him again. We passed each other during our examinations, but it was last semester. Thank God for that. I never had to see him again. This was my messy, complicated story. I know you all must be thinking that it was so messy. Trust me, I know that. I have taken a break for good from any sort of relationship. No dating, no situationship, no friends with benefits. I'm done with everything for good now. Thank you for reading my story till here. Update. To all the guys in the comment telling that my ex did a good thing by ending things with me, I want you to know that I do read these comments and it hurts me. I'm an actual human being with emotions. I never claimed to be perfect or that I'm a green flag. I never claimed to be any of those things. I just shared my story with you all with complete honesty. I could have hidden my mistakes when I shared it or could have not shared it all. Instead, I shared it here so that you all know that life sometimes gets messy and it's okay. Also, I would just like to add that I was only 20 when all this began, so I know I did make mistakes, but I was young and had no idea.